what it can be. Ethan Art's mic'd
It's
up.
fucking bullshit.
But you can hear the nice dulcet tones of your voice.
Yeah.
Did I use that word right? I've always wanted to use that word.
Yeah, no, you did it right. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Wow, way to sneak that in there, Matt. That was good.
I mean, but I still had to ask, right? I had to ask the qualified musician instructor, guru of all things sound.
That's right. All things.
And also, you're better at words and books and stuff than me. So
that's true. So that's true. Yeah, pretty much.
You both are better at
everything.
the words.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Oh, nice.
Oh, baby.
That sounded
crazy. Mm-hmm.
So should we start with that? Yeah, start with our beers.
Yeah, tell us, Matt. Yeah. Don't leave us hanging.
Colin, what do you got? I gotta make sure I'm focusing on this pour.
Oh, okay. I've got. It's a grapefruit citrus hazy.
Okay.
It's called Haze.
Salty Turtle. Really never heard of them. How is it?
Yeah. It's pretty good. It's Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach.
I found it in Raleigh.
Nice.
Yeah. just needed something different when I was at the rents, but it's okay.
What about you, Ethan? I saw it didn't look hazy. It looked IPA though.
It's hazy enough. But hold on, Kyle, you said yours is only okay. What are you giving it on Untapped?
I had already rated it because I had one before. Yep. I probably gave it like a 3.5. Let me look. What did I say it was called? Haze. 3.5.
Nice.
Not bad.
It says it's actually in Surf City, North Carolina, not in. But the can says Virginia Beach, so I don't know which one.
We're getting a little laggy, Ethan. You're a little laggy.
Yeah, it's telling me that. Hold on, I'm gonna try something real quick. Talk without me for a minute, Matt. So maybe talk about your beer.
All right. Well, I opened up a nice Belgian lambic from Three Fountain. I'm gonna say some Belgian words. We're gonna see how this goes. Aardbei Creek. I know Creek, but Aardbei, and then it says Oogst OOGST 2021. So it's a blend of strawberry and sour cherry lambic from 2021. Yeah, it's tasty as shit. I also love reading the dates on Creek bottles or on lambic bottles because it says you can't see it, but there we go. Best before 2041. So,
oh shit!
You can age these for a while. This one lasted 3 years with me. But
what was the name of this one, Matt? What was it called?
Aardbei.
Okay.
/Creek. It's
okay. I see. Yeah, because the ones that I had gotten at New Year's were the it was like homage, and then like from Boost or something.
From Boost, yeah. Those are their kind of some of their more famous ones. There's a couple shops around here that get like Three Fountain makes a whole bunch, but not a lot are imported. But there's a couple shops around here that get all sorts of weird stuff from them. So. That's how I've seen, like, I've got a rhubarb one downstairs. I've got a plum and a peach one. I've got the Zen, which is Zen and Frontera, which is the sherry cask aged one that was like a unicorn. I don't know how the hell I've only ever seen a bottle of it once before. So I walked in the shop and it was like there. So I was like, I gotta buy this. Sorry, I gotta buy this. So, yeah, it's.
What's the ABV on that?
It is. I hope it's not too high because it's a giant bottle. Okay, 6%.
Oh, yeah,
we'll see how long I can go through this, but it smells pretty good. Tastes pretty good.
It looks great. I love that color.
A little bit more sour than some of the other stuff, but very tasty.
Well,
hell yeah! Can you see me and hear me?
Oh yeah, you're much better now, Ethan.
Okay.
Still a little laggy,
but. God. Thank God. People need to see it.
Well, I know exactly. Yeah. So I'm having the one that we texted about the other night that I recently got a 4-pack of called Get in My Belly. with some awesome fat bastard action on the artwork, and this is a unfiltered triple IPA. It says unfiltered triple, so 9%, and out of Knotted Root in Netherlands, which we talked about actually recently. I had one from them recently, and it's really good. The typical thing with the triples, it's got that sweetness, which I think, because I keep getting seduced by the marketing of it, of the triple IPA. I'm just like, ooh, triple is more than double. There's going to be like more hops and flavors and stuff. I'm going to get the triple, and it's higher alcohol. I can get an easier buzz or whatever. But I think actually I like the flavor better of doubles, and even quote unquote like singles, non doubles. I actually don't love the sweetness in the triples. I think the first few times I had it, it was like novel enough that I was like, oh wow, this is fascinating. But now I'm like, you know what, I could do without the sweetness. I think the sweet spot for me, no pun intended, is more like all those other half doubles that we drink that are like 7-8% or whatever, or even like 6.5. Like those, like just in terms of flavor profile, I think I like better.
Yeah, it is very. I mean, there's even a couple breweries out there that are doing quad IPAs, and it's like, okay, like you've wasted enough hops on this one. But no, I think you are also probably exposed to some very good triples to start. I'd say usually there are very few breweries that actually like their triple IPAs and will go out of the way. Other half is one of them. If their anniversary beers, every year their anniversary beer is a triple, it is excellent. They are very, very well done. And they're in that kind of 9, 10, 11% type range. But that is usually it. For the same thing you said, Ethan. A lot of other places, it's syrupy, it's too sweet. It's I gotta like amp myself up to drink one. So it's very rare that I grab, go for a triple. And not many people make them. I mean, they're hard beers, they're expensive beers. It requires a lot of hops and a lot of grain to get that malt, that mash nice and sugary to ferment. But it's definitely hit or miss. I definitely would go for a double or just a regular IPA. Even other half tries to differentiate. Sometimes they'll say Imperial IPA versus triple. Right. They don't do a lot of triples. So
yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, still pretty good. But every once in a while, you get struck by wonderful, wonderful can art or a good pun, and you've just got to buy it.
Exactly. I couldn't resist this one. Yeah.
I'd say I think it was toward the start of the pandemic, or it was maybe it might have been right when I moved to Kentucky. But let's see. I'm looking it up. A brewery I like out of southwestern Michigan released a beer called Bad Hombre. That was making fun of the former president.
Yeah, how he said bad hombres. Yeah.
So they put an accent over the O that looked like his orange hair. It was a vanilla cream stout aged in bourbon barrels. It was okay, but it was one of those like, well, I want this just because I want this beer.
Yep.
But anyway, you're wearing a Syracuse shirt there, Colin. What's going on?
Yeah, and funny thing is, I was telling Toddy, I went to Harris Teeter, one of the local grocery chains, right down the street after my dentist appointment today.
That's like in your neighborhood, pretty much. Like, very convenient.
Much.
Very
yeah. Matt and I went there. I remember.
Yep. Yeah. And as I was checking out, there was a guy who works there was also checking out. Like he was done with his shift and he was just picking up, a couple things. And he's like, "Did you grow up in Syracuse?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, Baldwinsville, and I was like, "Oh, Liverpool." And he's been in the area since 2008, I think he said, or seven or eight. So much longer than I have been. But I was like, small world.
Wow, how that happens.
All those upstate New Yorkers.
Speaking of Syracuse news, your guy's favorite former shooting guard is no longer coaching at Syracuse. He's the coach of Siena. So
that's right.
Congratulations, Jerry McNamara. I hope in your eyes he is just as good a coach and definitely not overrated as he was when he was a player.
I always liked GMAC. I feel Colin hated on GMAC, right?
I thought I remember you hating on him too, calling him the
Really?
most overrated player that Syracuse had.
Okay, maybe I did. If I did that, I was doing it just to get a rise out of everybody because everyone loved him so
Probably getting a
much.
rise out of me, and it probably worked.
Yeah,
So,
no, I bet it did work. That was like, because my go-to has always been saying that the Beatles are the most overrated band of all time, right? Or like with my classical bands, I would say that, or my classical friends, I would say that like Mozart and Beethoven are the most overrated composers of all time. And without fail, those both work like a fucking charm, just perfectly with anybody. But I gotta say, looking back at like 16, or actually it would have been even a little bit younger, right? It would have been because he was a freshman with Carmelo in 03. So
yeah.
you've
When
when
we
we
were
were in
in
basically
seventh grade.
all those years we were in like 8th grade through 11th grade, I guess probably would have been GMAX years. Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm looking back and I'm like, okay, 12, 13, 14-year-old Ethan, that was a stroke of genius if you were doing that, if you were going after GMAC, because that would absolutely be a way to get Syracuse people. So
But now
Yeah.
Colin, Mister
Scranton.
Love of Scranton. Yeah, how could you not like
Well,
the,
listen. I just want to say for the record, I didn't hate GMAC, but I can't root for Syracuse. It's the same thing, and I figured we were going to get to this somehow, but I'll segue to it anyway. It's the same thing with
how did
Saquon
I know?
Barkley. I'll get a Barkley jersey tee, but I ain't gonna fucking root for the Eagles. Come on, like
Yeah.
it's crazy. Although Matt, you might remember this more than Ethan. I was just thinking about this the other day. Now that you guys mentioned GMAC, so we were in high school during his senior year. We must have been like in 10th or 11th grade. Do you remember the everyone stayed like after the bell rang at the end of the school day because they were like it was like a minute
Oh,
left
in the
in
tournament.
the Big East
Yeah,
tournament, and then when he hit that shot, the whole school
yeah.
erupted. It was the craziest thing. Like it was dead quiet. Nobody was leaving their classrooms, even though it was 2:45 or whenever the fuck the bell used to go off. And then a minute later, he hits the shot. Syracuse wins, and the place goes like it was like we were in a fucking
Yeah.
stadium. It was crazy. Like I had never experienced anything. I'll never experience anything like that again because I'm not going to be in high school.
That
But
was Angry Jim Bay. Well, he was always angry, but Angry Jim Boeheim year, right? That was when he got on the podium after. Was like, we wouldn't be fucking this far if it wasn't for him. You stop saying he's overrated or something, whatever. There's some paper
That was
somewhere tore him apart. I mean, and
they
the
were
team
terrible
objectively
that year,
stunk
but
that year, and they were
yeah,
only winning because he was hitting shots like that. But
yeah. I don't know if that was the year they lost to Vermont in the tournament.
no,
But
they were a good team that year. They were a 2 seed, I'm pretty sure.
oh
Yeah.
wow, so that was a 2-15.
Oh.
Wow,
Funny.
wow, yeah, throwback.
2-15 or 3-14, like some big like that. Catamount shouldn't have beat him, and they owned him.
Yeah, they crushed
Wow.
him. Yeah, that dude was shooting threes like he was Steph Curry.
Hey, speaking of the NCAA tournament, real quick, I just want to say that my CSU Rams were very offended at being in the first 4 games, right? They were really upset. And I was seeing all these comments on social media about the Mountain West not getting any respect and blah, 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 blah. And then in that first 4 play-in game, CSU fucking destroyed University of Virginia by 25 points. And Virginia just won a national title like a few years ago. Like this is a legit, like big time program, big time university. CSU fucking destroyed them. Now CSU did lose to Texas in the official, round of 64 or whatever. However, I did just want to point out that was, maybe the Mountain West does deserve a little bit more respect than it's getting in basketball. There was another Mountain West team I think that did okay as well, but I just thought that was kind of nice that the Rams went over there and stomped what are they called these days? Are they still the Cavs, the Cavaliers?
The Cavaliers, I think. Yeah.
So, go Rams.
Is Penn State and the not ironic? Is Penn State no? Okay, I don't.
No, I mean they were like right about 500 this year with a new head coach and everything, but
I mean,
yeah, no.
Ethan, if you can say the Mountain West needs some more credit, but it's ACC, Big Ten, SEC, and Big East, or whatever UConn is now. I don't know, Big East or All American or whatever it was called. But yeah, that's what's left.
Yeah.
So
you're right. Yeah, no, I know, but I mean, what conference is Virginia? Are they ACC?
ACC, yeah.
Yeah, and we stomped them. So just saying. that maybe there's a little bit more going on.
Well, I'm glad to put Virginia in its place. They always seem to win. I hate them, but I'm also glad to see Oakland beat Kentucky. Right, that was great.
Yeah, that was.
I didn't catch that. That's hilarious.
Oh yeah, Oakland, 14 seeded Oakland upset 3 seeded Kentucky.
Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah, first round.
Yeah, fuck Kentucky.
Anyway,
so since we're on the topic of basketball, we'll kind of flip the rundown, the loose rundown that I had for everything. All right, so you guys know how, like, in football or basketball, for example, they'll say, like, if you get to 85 points, you'll win the game, or whatever. And it's like, you just got to get to 85 and you're going to win, or you just got to score 35 points in football and you're going to win because the defense will hold it down, and everything. If I said to you that during this upcoming Final Four, Iowa was spotted 41 points that were just given to Caitlin Clark, and she could not play the rest of the game. So they start up 41-0. Say she, goes off, has a great game. Do you think that any team, not even the team that's going to play her, but any team could legitimately catch up? Or is, like, that too much of a, like, because there's I don't know if you guys saw the GIF of Van Lith, I think is her name, for LSU, when Clark puts up a 3, like, late in the game, and she just, like, shakes her shoulders up and everything. She's like, I don't know what else you want me to do. Like, I'm right on her, and she's just scoring and whatever. So if you, like, take Caitlin out of the game, but you give her the points, can the other team make it up? Like, is she that dominant? Like, I don't know if that's making any sense, but.
No, I get it. I think the premise. Matt?
depends on who she's playing, right? If it's UConn and you got Paige Buchers, I don't know how to say her name. Buckers. Like, I'd say they catch her, but yeah, well,
because UConn's got, like, 4 5-star recruits on the floor, whereas Caitlin Clark's the only 5-star, for Iowa.
Yeah.
So I don't. I mean, I don't know. I feel like you don't see as
it's a huge gap.
Yeah,
it's a huge gap. But don't you think that somebody, now I know nothing about women's college basketball or really any college sports these days, but the little that I do know, like, don't you think that somebody like Caitlin Clark, or we were talking about our high school Syracuse teams, thinking of, like, somebody like Carmelo, somebody who is, like, truly dominant at that level. Don't you think that, and I have no idea, I'm just curious for your thought, I'm wondering if somebody like that is just so, their mere presence is, like, really impactful. That's exactly. So, like
her presence, not only does she score, but she makes everyone else, like, she literally is that definition of makes everyone else around her better.
Right. And so you figure that the other team is, if she's on the floor, has to be worried about her all the time, even if she's not shooting. They're just always thinking about her, and that their whole entire, like, defensive game plan is just revolving around that. And so I'm wondering, if you do take somebody like that off the floor, especially if the supporting cast is not nearly as good as, like, you're talking about the UConn and the 5 stars and stuff, I'm wondering if maybe because 41 is a lot, but I think I don't know. I'm inclined to say I bet you that there's a decent amount of teams who, like, could make a comeback without her on the floor. I think, like, certain people like that can just be so impactful. Yeah.
Well, so the thing is, at least I'm like doing a cursory look through the bracket. Like, it seems a lot of the game. I don't know. I'm trying to gauge, like, is the average score lower in the women's game? So does that mean by, like, proportion that 41 points is higher? Like, it's greater to overcome?
Oh, right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be also curious to see, like, what's her percentage of the team's total points this year, right? What is she on an average night? Is
right.
not total points, but percentage. Like,
because she's not hitting 40 every night, right?
Yeah, is she 20%? Is she 50%?
I was just saying, like, she goes.
But that's
what
she did in the LSU game, right?
Yeah, I think she had 40.
Yeah, and that's like a big rivalry game and stuff because of Angel Reese and all that stuff.
Let's see, boxer.
I just think it would be so wild. Like, Caitlin's been in the news. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Ice Cube and a bunch of other like big name people have this like 3-on-3 league, and they offered her $5 million. I don't know for how many years or whatever, but the highest paid salary in WNBA is like $250,000, per season. And she had previously declared for the W. Angel Reese declared today for the W and everything. But people are wondering, and I'm just wondering, like in general, like is this where sports is headed? Where like the entertainment aspect is so riveting, especially with gambling, which we'll get into a little bit here in a minute. But like, wouldn't it be riveting to see like Caitlin having to sit on the bench and just knowing, okay, we gave you a 41 spot, and to see like if UConn, for example, could pull off some ridiculous run to win that game. Like it would be basketball not as we know it, obviously, but it would, I think, from an entertainment perspective, I think that's something that it's not something that's going to happen, obviously, but I was just thinking about that today. I was like, I just wonder if there's a team that could make up that gap if the best player has to sit on the bench the whole time.
Yeah, I'd say South Carolina or Connecticut. That's it. That's it. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, from the women's side, yeah.
Yeah.
I think LSU could probably do it too. I mean, they beat her last year, so.
Yeah, it's kind of I was just gonna say it's kind of cool though. The whole thing with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese has like, I mean,
it's like bird and
yeah,
magic.
and like women's college basketball, I don't remember it ever having this much visibility or attention in our entire lives. Now, part of that I think is because in the last few years, right, as we've talked about, there is a concerted effort just in terms of all of the various gender stuff and like Me Too movement over the last several years, right? There's just so much more visibility of all of these kinds of inequality. And so I think there has been an effort to put more attention on women's sports and stuff like that. But I don't think it's been particularly successful in a lot of ways. But for women's college basketball, because of these two people, really, I don't think it's because of that many other people, right? Like even somebody like me who doesn't pay attention much, I know about Reese and Clark. And like it's really cool. I'm curious what the Schlabina thinks about it, because it seems to me that it's that it's a pretty exciting thing. The only thing though is that I don't know how sustainable it is, right? Because like they're going to go to the WNBA. How many of the people who are interested in stuff are going to follow the WNBA now because of them? Right. Seems.
Well, they gotta hope that, because Magic and Larry were rivals in college too, and then they both came out in the draft in the same year. Lakers, Celtics. Like obviously there was more history, I think, to the NBA prior, but the NBA was not the NBA that we know today. Like it was on life support, back then, and they kind of brought it up from the dead, and then Jordan obviously elevated it to the next level from there. But I wonder, like to your point, Ethan, and Hannah, we love you. We hope you're doing well. All the wedding planning and everything. I remember talking about this with the Schlabina though, where especially in women's college basketball specifically, like it's been one school for so long. Like it was Tennessee, when Pat Summitt was there. Then it was UConn for all those years. And more recently, it's been South Carolina with Dawn Staley, who's fucking incredible. Kara Lawson's trying to, do that with Duke and everything. But to have rivals, I think is like that secret sauce type thing that can really elevate it. Now, obviously, they need new superheroes. They need new villains for next year, right, to keep that momentum going and everything. And who knows, like you said, Ethan, the crossover to the W, if that's where they both end up, like, will that increase viewership? And there's already some great players there, Stewie, Sabrina, those are a couple off the top of my head and everything. But, Candace Parker's still playing. But yeah, the W doesn't seem to have the juice that college does, but a lot of on the men's side, I think a lot of people have made that argument for years. growing up in Syracuse, I heard that all the time. We're a college town. We're proud of that. College sports is better than pro sports. Like there's that enthusiasm or that like passion and everything that gets really rooted deeply. And I wonder if that can be a catalyst to, really elevate the sport. And basketball would be a good sport, I think, to do that. It's a worldwide game and everything. So I guess we'll see, but just really interesting. And I'm happy for them too. I think the women's Final Four is set up to be a really fun, really fun few days.
Now, I think part of this too, though, just women's college athletics in general is getting more visibility. Partly due to the NIL effect, and I think partly due to the social media effect. And I think we'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Livy Dunne and some. I mean, there was those. I can't remember
Isn't
the
it
name.
Dunn?
Twins. Dunn. Okay, that's how much I know. But like, she's not famous because of her, gymnastic skills. She's famous because of her social media presence.
Right.
And
she's like an influencer who's also happens to be like a top-notch college gymnast or whatever.
Yeah, and I can't remember the name, but there were these twins that came out of California too. Colin, is that ringing a bell, Ethan?
They were in Miami. They were bench players.
Oh, they were. See, okay, but like they had very big, very very large social media presences.
They had the biggest NIL deal, I think, to that point.
Yeah, and like Angel Reese has 2.8 million Instagram followers. Like that's a lot. I just looked that up just to see. Yeah. Sorry, continue, Matt.
And like she made her announcement through Vogue magazine.
Wow.
Like not even through traditional, sports outlet, or anything like that.
Fascinating.
That was, how. So I mean, not only are they like doing like things that prior generations were not doing because it wasn't available, but they're even like changing the way that information is being shared and gathered and everything.
Right.
So I think it's positive. I think there definitely needs to be. I hope there's caution there. Both from I still don't think the NIL is the right solution for, compensating athletes, but I think it's at least a progress. And then, again, just balancing the followings that these people have with these athletes have with their careers as people in the spotlight, but also as their time as college athletes is going to be interesting to see how that plays out in the future. Is our schools going to be recruiting people based on, I guess I should say, how much is someone's social media presence going to impact a school's, willingness or drive to recruit them, especially as schools look to monetize other sports, sports that aren't men's college basketball or football, right? Because the whole landscape of college athletics are going to change, and you already see colleges cutting, non-revenue sports because of them trying to kind of balance things out. How does something like Livy Dunn's attention and prowess, essentially provide enough support for LSU gymnastics where that's, self-sustaining now? And then is that something they look forward to in the future? So I don't know. I think it's interesting. We're changing a lot. In 5 years, it'll be much, much different than it is now too. So
absolutely.
For sure.
For food.
Yep, for sure. Well,
so which one of you? What do you, Ethan?
Well, no, I was going to say quick? Because I'm on a schedule tonight. I wanted to get to some baseball.
Yeah. So, which one of you wants to concisely update us on what's going on with Ohtani so we can check that off our list?
God. I haven't followed much. I don't know what's going on now.
Okay, I think I actually might be able to give a concise rundown then. And Colin, please correct me if anything is wrong or not fully updated here. But so if you have been living under a rock, or if you're Matt for the last week or two, then you apparently don't know what's going on with Shohei Ohtani, the potentially greatest baseball player of all time. So it's really upsetting. It's really horrible. It's a gambling scandal. That's the 2-word answer: gambling scandal. So Shohei Ohtani is famously very private and we know like next to nothing about his life. And he has or had an interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara, who was like his right hand man and his interpreter ever since he got here. In when did he get here? 2018, was that his rookie year?
Yep.
So Ippei has been with him since day one, and by all accounts, was like close to him in life. Like not just his translator, his interpreter. What's the official word for it now? Is it interpreter or translator? Translator.
Interpreter, I think.
Oh,
Oh, interpreter.
Okay,
Yeah,
whichever, whatever, same thing, right? In this case. But from what we have heard, Ippei Mizuhara would like spend all year with Ohtani. They would work out together. They would do everything together. Like, so it was not just a professional, like, oh, we're at press conferences or we're in the dugout and we need the translation. Like, it wasn't just that. Like their lives were bound up together very tightly for 6 years at this point, at least. Okay. So from what we could tell, from what we know, Ippei Mizuhara is as close to Shohei Ohtani and knows him as well as literally like anyone alive, except for maybe Shohei's wife, who we just randomly found out about, a couple of months ago, right? Again, he's a private person. We knew nothing until he just randomly announced it on social media. Anyways, this was so fucking weird because I mean, I don't remember a scandal ever unfolding like this, where like the story changes so much in like the first 2 days or whatever. But basically, what happened was, apparently the Dodgers were warned that there was going to be a negative story coming out, and it had to do with Mizuhara. So Mizuhara,
This is like the Sunday. This, to give everybody a timeline, this is like the Sunday before it breaks on a Wednesday, I think, when they're in Korea.
they're doing the Seoul series
For opening day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Mizuhara, to try and get out in front of it, he has a meeting in the clubhouse with the team, and he talks to the team in English, and he says like, I have a gambling problem. You're going to see some negative stuff in the news. It's been really bad, but Shohei has helped me out. He never did any gambling. He never knew about it, but he has helped me because he's a good friend, basically. Then he goes and he does an ESPN interview where he talks about this. And he talks about how Shohei had no idea, but Shohei helped him pay off his debts, $4.5 million. He has a gambling problem. He was in debt, $4.5 million. Shohei helped him out, but Shohei never did any gambling himself or anything like that. Then, literally, I think the next day, all of a sudden, like, Shohei's people are like, oh, shit. For some reason, we don't know exactly why yet, but Shohei's people decide, okay, this is a potential shit show, and we cannot be because I think there are legality issues. If that original story is true, there are legality issues with Shohei just giving his buddy $4.5 million to pay off gambling.
Yes, and to intercede, sports betting is illegal in California, and it is illegal to use wire transfers to pay off sports gambling debt in California.
Okay. So right. So there's these legality issues. So I suspect, and I mean, I think we'll find out eventually for sure, Shohei's lawyers realized this and were like, oh, fuck. And so the next day, they're like, none of that is true. All of this stuff Ippei said, everything from the ESPN interview, none of that is true. Shohei has been the victim of massive theft, and Ippei Mizuhara has been fired. And so now my thought this whole time was essentially that Ippei is like taking the fall. That maybe that original story actually is true. That maybe Shohei helped Ippei out because Shohei's like a nice guy, and he was like, oh yeah, $4.5 million is nothing to me. I just signed a $700 million contract. Like, that's fine. And he thought it was not a big deal. And then they find out, oh shit, this is really bad. And then it's like, Ippei, you're taking the fall, and we're going to say that you stole all of this. Sorry, that's just the deal. So that's one possibility. Regardless, they came out like that next day, and they said Shohei has been the victim of massive theft. And like the implication there is that Mizuhara is like a fucking monster. So it's like he went from this like kind of sad gambling addict who was like bailed out by his best friend to like potentially a truly shitty, sinister, like horrible human being who like wormed his way into Shohei Ohtani's inner circle only to like steal millions of dollars from him. Now that would be like a very depressing turn to the story. It wouldn't be the most surprising thing ever, because that kind of shit I think happens all the time. Money brings out the worst in people. So basically, we don't know for sure what it is. The story is still kind of in progress and changing. But essentially, the belief for now is still that Shohei did no gambling. That Ippei did lots of gambling, and then the question is just what role Shohei played afterwards in terms of money. So that's kind of where we're at, I believe. Colin, obviously, add anything if need be. There's lots to say about this. We texted a little bit about it. I have thoughts regarding just our overall societal relationship to gambling, which I can talk about in a minute. But is that about right in terms of the situation as it now stands?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ippei's,
Yeah, I think
there's
that's
additional stuff coming out about his lies. His
Oh,
resume
actually, yes,
lies.
this is an important part. Yeah, Matt, talk about that.
He stated that he initially started working in the United States in the major leagues as a it wasn't Kasasaki, it was Kojima. No, sorry. Who was the Red Sox pitcher that he was?
Koji Uehara.
Koji Uehara.
Daisuke?
Koji Uehara, maybe. He said he was his translator then, and then also the next year when he had a cup of tea with the Yankees in spring training, he said that he was his interpreter then. Those are both falsehoods. The Red Sox came out and said he never had anything to do with our organization ever. Some additional digging also revealed that he did not go to the California State School that he said he did.
Yeah, they had no record of him, right?
At least the only thing the reporter could say, to clarify, he said, we have no record of him attending, was it Fullerton? Under this name, is all he said. So who knows what else that implies. So definitely some nefarious information about his background and his experience that has also come to light as well.
Yeah, and that makes it seem a little bit more likely, I think, that maybe the second scenario that I mentioned is the true one, that like he tried to get out in front of it, and maybe because Shohei doesn't speak much English, he told the team and then tried to tell ESPN, like, Shohei lent me this money, he's a good friend, blah, 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 blah. But now we're finding out this like George Santos shit about him, and it's like, okay, maybe he is this like kind of nefarious fucking like con artist or something, which would be pretty wild.
Hopefully by the end of this, we find out that there was nothing lost in translation.
Oh my God. Man.
Cue the My Generation, yeah, whatever that show is. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's going to be our
hilarious.
Thank you very
hilarious.
Much. I just wrote it down.
So now
when inspiration strikes me, I have to say it. I'm sorry.
You do have to take it. So the thing with this story is like, I feel very strange about it, morally speaking. So leave aside the gambling thing for a second, because the gambling thing is its own thing. That's all real fucked up. And it's just classic American culture to be glorifying something and making lots of money on something while also like criticizing it and talking about it like it's the worst thing ever. It's kind of like it's like kind of like the American relationship to sexuality too. It's like we have these weird deep roots in like Puritanism that still like show their head in certain ways. And I think that the gambling thing is kind of like that. But leave that aside for a second. So Shohei Ohtani is the most exciting player in baseball. And like I said, he has a legit argument for being literally the greatest baseball player of all time. And no matter how you shake it, this story is shitty for baseball because it is bringing suspicion to Shohei Ohtani. It is bringing negative press to him. People are assuming the worst. People are questioning him, blah, 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 blah. It's just like bad news all around. And so like the worst thing that could happen is that we find out that like maybe Shohei actually did knowingly do some bad shit. Now, if he gambled, I don't really give a fuck. Like I think, the whole thing with gambling, I think we need to let it go. and not be annoyed about it when baseball is advertising it constantly and making money from it. Like, it's just so absurd. And the fact that like Pete Rose is still banned for life and everything when gambling is the way it is now just is absurd to me. But Shohei like needs to be, he's like the hero that we need. Remember in that, like in the Batman trilogy, they talked, I can't remember the line, Colin, the hero we need versus the hero we deserve or whatever, blah, 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 blah. We fucking
like
need
that,
Shohei, and he needs to be this like paragon of everything that is great about baseball. I think baseball needs him. And so I am like desperately hoping that he comes out of this looking okay. And if he doesn't, it's going to be, I don't know, I think it's going to be just as devastating as like the steroid era in terms of big picture issues with baseball and how baseball is viewed. So there are some potential really, really dark turns with this story, but it seems like people are on it, and hopefully Shohei didn't do anything really untoward. But that's the thing that scares me the most about all of this.
I mean, counterpoint a little bit with the. So I am disgusted. Like, yes, like let's throw it over to our Bet Rivers Casino studio where our DraftKings reporter ESPN Bet Charlie Mays is reporting on this. Like, yeah, ESPN's all in. Everyone is seeing dollar signs. I think it's a little bit ridiculous. I'm actually I'm sick of all of the commercials and the advertisements and just the nonsense that's coming from sports gambling. But where there still has to be a line somewhere, right? Is if you can have a material effect on the game, you should not be allowed. Yeah. Like that is fraud. That is, to me, it's just as bad as insider trading, right? If you are in a position to have a material impact on the outcome of something, it's not just your own money. It's if you're influencing that for a specific outcome beyond the natural game, that has to be for the integrity of the game, and unfortunately, which I don't give a shit, for the integrity of the betting. Like, it has to be drastic and strict.
That I agree with. Yeah, I should have clarified that. Yeah, for sure.
But you're right. I think it's speaking out of both sides of your mouth when you're saying like, well, terrible betting scandal, but also like, hey, you gonna place some bets? Like, hey, you want to bet on who's actually guilty here? Like,
yeah,
yeah. So that's where it's like, fuck. Like, this is tough. And unfortunately, I think that it's only going to get worse. I think, I mean, there was plenty of problems before it was this widespread. Whether it was the NBA ref 15 years ago, betting on games and changing outcomes of games, or again, Pete Rose, whether or not he bet on his own team or not, like problems there. Now, it's also subjective, right? Ty Cobb was also accused of betting, but nothing came of it, right? It depends on who you are and where you are and what the time period is as well. Just same with steroids. Like, you can't fucking tell me that David Ortiz didn't take steroids. Like, there are
he was
people
on the goddamn Mitchell report.
That's what I mean. There's people in the hall that took steroids. So for them to say, well, Barry Bonds.
I'm so furious about the fucking David Ortiz exception. Yeah. That is such fucking bullshit.
I guess Alex, for one reason or another, like Alex, Roger, and Barry like pissed people off. Like, Alex was a royal.
Yeah, because Ortiz is like fat and jolly and stuff. So everybody's like giving him a pass because it's like, oh, he's David Ortiz. He's Big Papi. He's a big teddy bear. He's so fun and stuff. So we're gonna give him a pass. It's bullshit.
Didn't the cartel also try assassinating him in the DR? Like, there's something.
Oh my god! Wait, I didn't know about that, or if I did, I forgot about it.
He was in urgent care last year, 2 years ago. Someone tried assassinating him in the DR.
He almost died.
God, how did I totally blanked that out? Oh my god!
So like something's going on there too. Love Jeff Bagwell. Probably was on steroids, Jeff. Like, as much as I want to say there was no proof that Randy Johnson ever took roids, and that he didn't start pitching heavily until he was 24, 25, right? Like, it's tough to make a clear cut exemption there, right? Like,
even if you come up in your mid-20s, if you come up when it's a little bit quote unquote later, people are still, if it's the natural way of the body and biology, people are not having all-time great seasons in the last half of their 30s. But that happened with Randy. That happened with Roger. That happened with Barry. And listen, we all know, like, our stance on steroids has been laid out very, very much, very thoroughly and many times on this podcast.
I like walking the line,
so everybody knows. But like that, like, I don't care, right? I love all those guys. I don't care. But yeah, I do think it's silly to, that argument of like, oh, he came up late or, whatever, like that explains why he was still so amazing when he was 37 or whatever. No, like if you're having literally all-time great seasons when you're like 36, 37, you've got some medical scientific help, and that's okay as far as I'm concerned, but let's just be honest about it.
There will be statistical outliers.
Fair enough.
Were there this many? Statistically, probably no. Right? Like, Tom Brady. I don't know if he did. He drank a lot of water, right? Like, but he's a statistical outlier. As much as I hate his guts, right? Like, he was very good for a very long time.
So like I'm double checking to make sure that I'm
7 people all of a sudden start playing until they're 44. Then you go, like. The last person I remember who played that late was Vinny Testaverde, and that was ugly. He was no Tom Brady, right? Like,
yeah. Randy had probably the greatest. Well, I guess so. He got hurt in 2003, so that doesn't count. But if you take that into, if you get rid of that, he had the greatest. Oh no, you don't even need 2003. He had like the greatest 4-year run for a pitcher in history. From 99 to 02,
years, right? Like,
ages 35 through 38. You know what I mean? And it's like, and that's the same thing Bonds did, right? All those huge years that he had, and like, they're amazing, and it's fun to look at those years, and it's amazing to think about the accomplishments. But come on, that's just not how the human body works. You're not supposed to be able to pitch 260 innings and strike out 334 with a 195 ERA plus when you're 38. So
hey, Satchel Paige could have done it.
Maybe Satchel Paige. He might be the exception to prove the rule, the outlier. From what we've heard about Satchel Paige, because I mean, wasn't he 59 when he like came into the major leagues and like struck out the side of the or whatever?
So it was a publicity stunt, but of course, he still was not terrible.
Yeah. So Satchel Paige, he might be one of those outliers, but yeah.
But you're. I mean, I agree, right? Like, well, first of all, I love you, Randy. Keep taking good pictures. Go.
Oh,
he's
that's right.
For being a photographer. But,
good for him. And he's a huge Rush fan. He seems like a good guy.
Yeah. Aside from the time he shoved the cameraman in New York City, like, remember that first week in New York? Get out of my face.
Yeah. Well,
but supposed to be a good guy. But more players should have like the Greinke progression, not the Clemens progression, right? Greinke's still sticking around. Or Jamie Moyer, right? Jamie Moyer pitched until he was 47 or 49 or whatever, but it was like, he's throwing 83-mile-an-hour fastballs. Greinke used to be able to wind up and throw 95, 96, 97. Now he throws like 88.
Yeah.
Mixing the occasional Ephus pitch,
That's right. Yeah, he does throw an Ephus.
Be a fucking weirdo and everyone loves you,
Yeah, some of my favorite articles of all time are Joe Paz's articles about Greinke, because Joe Paz knows him well from his time in Kansas City and stuff.
Yeah.
But Colin, you didn't really comment on the whole Shohei thing. Did you have anything you wanted to add to all that?
Oh, well, I think it's very sad that we're even talking about it. I mean, the first podcast we ever did, we talked about Shohei. And just how special he was, and the comps to Ruth and everything, and he hadn't even really like totally broken out yet. He was getting there and everything, and so we've been fanboying over him for the last handful of years and everything, and all the points both of you made, I think, are very valid. I think the last thing Major League Baseball wants is for some of those dark turns, Ethan, that you mentioned. And so I think Ohtani's potential benefit, unlike with Bonds and Clemens and any of the steroids people, or Pete Rose, for example, he has Major League Baseball on his side, or even the Astros in the trash can scandal.
No, fuck it. I
He has Major League
want this to be
Baseball.
a stain on Rod Manfred's legacy more than any other stain. No, sorry, keep going.
Well, and that might be something to it, Matt. That could certainly be something where he's like, I'm not letting this fucking take me down for the same way that it did to Selig with the steroids. That's all people remember him by. Right? And so I think, again, potentially for Ohtani's benefit, the fact that he has Major League Baseball on his side is a huge thing because, and we know this with powerful people, things can go away pretty easily.
Yep.
And so even if Ohtani was in the wrong, and I'm not suggesting that Michael Jordan retired because he had a gambling problem to play baseball and only to come back and win 3 more championships in basketball. But when you have David Stern on your side, I mean, you're almost invincible at that point. And for Ohtani to have Manfred on his side right now, because we know, Ethan, to your point, just how important he is to Major League Baseball and to the game itself and the growth. The last thing they want is for this to turn dark. Matt, to some of your points, the legalities of it all, that's the part that's, I guess, more concerning for me overall, is like, I don't see a scenario where he's not at least somewhat complicit from a legal perspective. Because whether or not he, like, if he did the ultimate, which we none of us want, I think collectively we can agree on that, betting on baseball, or if he was betting on other sports, or if he actually did try to help out and bail out his best friend of it. I mean, they date back, I think, to like 2013, 2014 or something like that, I read. And then obviously they've been hand in hand since 2018 up until a couple weeks ago. There's that, but at the end of the day, it just doesn't add up for me. And I've told you guys this, for Ohtani to be as private and as calculated and as smart about everything that he has been. And I know all of the people who are the same scientists that were telling us that vaccines don't work and COVID's, fake and everything, be on social media telling me that people get scammed like this all the time. And I believe that. But for Ohtani specifically to be the person to get scammed like this out of $4.5 million, when his interpreter was making, up until this season, when they went to the Dodgers, I think the highest salary he made was like $80K a year, or something like that. And we know that bookies will not let you keep betting when you owe money, because they owe money to somebody. And so it starts getting, really messy and dangerous and everything. I'm not talking like mob hits, but there's a there's like an order to all of this. And so
Quick, go back through all the old footage and see if Ippei is ever in like a sling.
yeah, right. Right. And so I mean, again, for it to be Ohtani, there's those two sides, right? It's like, okay, it's the face of baseball. We don't need anything to happen. We don't want anything to happen. Let's do everything we can to protect him. But also, because it's Ohtani and he's so calculated and he's so smart, it just really baffles me to think that $4.5 million magically disappeared from his account without him knowing. I just really find that hard to believe. And I want to be proven wrong, but I don't know. I don't know where that proof comes from.
Remember how calculated and disciplined his free agency process was.
Exactly.
And how secretive it was.
Exactly.
It's hard to believe that someone that, with that rigor around every aspect of their personal life, would let $4.5 million, someone get the one over on you on that. Now, granted, Ohtani is still making $70 million this year, $2 million from the Dodgers, and about $60 to $70 million in endorsements. So really, it could be maybe he's got that New Balance money, and he's just like, fuck it.
Well, that was going to be my argument. Is that $4.5 million to him is like pocket change, and if it was no, Kyle, you don't think?
See, I think that's easy for people like us who are never going to sniff that kind of money, most likely. I think that's easy for us to sit here and say that. But I think we have seen, like, when we bitch about Major League Baseball owners and them not going a single penny over the luxury tax, and we're like, why? You have all this money, and they don't want to pay a tax on the money that they could be profiting on. And so I'm just like, yeah, it is a drop in the bucket. Like, that's a valid argument to be made by both of you. But again, I just don't buy that he specifically, if it's Manny Ramirez, if it's
Johnny Damon,
Fernando Tatis Jr., or something like that, like, okay, that I know. Okay.
Tatis, though, that brings up he's fucked because you guys know about the contract he signed, right?
He signed that really long, huge one when he was like 20.
Yes, but when he was coming up, when Tatis was coming up, and this is where there can be something dark and predatory that we're never going to hear about until someone. Basically, a company approached Tatis and said, "We'll give you a $10 million advance right now, but you have to sign over 40% of your earnings for your career to us."
Oh, wow!
He is under an agreement like that. Yeah, so.
So he basically got fucked like Geffen fucked all of those classic rockers.
And I know we're running out of time. I want to look up like there is other shitty stuff out there. Like Tatis is he has the personality where I think you're right. He would be loose with his money.
Yeah. I just that argument I think it
just doesn't ring true for you in Shohei's specific case. Yeah, I feel that.
In rich people in general, but especially Shohei.
Yeah, that's fair. I want to. We don't need to change the subject necessarily, and especially Matt, if you have something you want to add. But I do want to talk about something happier. Should I wait? I have something, but should I wait a second, Matt?
Just let me see if I can find this information on this deal that he took.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tatis did.
Well, it's so funny. Like he's another one where, like a few years ago, he looked like he was kind of going to be the player of the generation, and then he had the motorcycle accident and the steroid suspension, and it's like, how fucking stupid do you have to be to get a steroid suspension as a superstar in 2022 or whatever it was? And so we'll see, maybe he makes a comeback this, because he's still really good, and he switched to the outfield last year, and he was one of the top right fielders in the game, like by all the advanced metrics.
Yeah.
So like he's an incredible athlete, and by 162 game averages, he has been really, really good. So like I'm hoping that he has a really good comeback year, and I mean, I guess he was good enough last year, and especially defensively, but like just a shitty thing to have happen in kind of the first chapter, the accident, the motorcycle thing, and then the steroid. Just like, what are you doing, dude? Like I know he's super young, he's a fucking kid, but like, God, why aren't there people around him like making sure he doesn't get into this kind of stupid trouble?
He's like John Morant in the NBA. Like they just can't get out. They're in their own ways all the time and self-sabotaging and everything. But I mean, he's like Tatis is basically a poor man's Mookie, at this point. Like tremendous athlete, could pretty much do anything on a baseball field, but can't stay on the field for various reasons.
Okay, so really quick, I can't find the terms of his deal, but the company is called Big League Advance, and it's almost like venture capitalism for prospects. They will make bets on prospects, give them advances, and then hope that one or two of them turn out to be stars and they get a recoup on their investment. So the average deal with Big League Advance, and just think about what this is going to cost Tatis, right? He is not saying that this is what he has, but the average deal gives them a $350,000 advance as a prospect in exchange for 8% of their future earnings. So in the case of Tatis's contract, right, 8% of $340 million is going to be $27.2
Decent
million.
hundo.
Like
Pretty good growth from the $350,000
yeah.
investment or whatever. Yeah.
So that's tough, right? That's a big thing to stomach, but
Yeah.
you know,
Wow.
take it or leave it. Anyways,
Fascinating.
I've got to guess at what your announcement might be, Ethan, but I don't want to ruin it. So go ahead. I want to
You
hear it.
can guess if you want.
I mean, we talked about it last week.
It's about my birthday, buddy.
Oh no, never mind. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. But whatever you're talking about, if you want to, we can after. My
No,
birthday
no,
buddy
no.
is Juan Soto, of course, as you guys may recall from when we did our little birthday. Remember when we did that a while back on the pod? We talked about, all right, who would be the best pitcher and the best hitter from our birthdays? And I will always
Yeah.
destroy you guys because I have Pedro and Juan Soto. It's so weird. October 25th is such like a weird birthday or whatever. It's like late October. It's like gloomy and shitty, but you know what? I got Pedro and I got Juan Soto. Anyways, the Juan Soto New York Yankees era is off to a wonderful start. I'm obsessed. I love him. He's amazing. I hope he stays healthy and we sign him for the rest of his career. I couldn't love him anymore. I'm so excited about Juan Soto.
He's like a Caitlin Clark. He's made everyone in that lineup better.
Yeah, and people are already talking about it. Like some of the other guys on the team, even like guys who are older than him and more experienced, or like have been in the league longer or whatever. Like people are hanging out around him and trying to learn from him because, Yes Network was showing on one of the first games. You guys may have had it on at the same time. A few days ago, they had a graphic up, and it was about like the highest OPS up to age 25, with a minimum of a certain amount of plate appearances. Right? You
Yeah,
saw
I
that?
saw that.
And it was like, who was it? It was like Mickey, Ted Williams, like Mike Trout and Juan Soto, and like one or two other guys, but literally like the greatest offensive players in history, like top tier offensive players in history. That's who we're talking about with Juan Soto. And that sometimes gets lost because so much of his game is about his walks and his command of the strike zone. Like he hasn't generally hit for like a super high average. He doesn't hit 40 homers. He's not like a crazy power guy. He's a good power guy, but not crazy power. So like some of that gets lost because so much of it is about the walks and the on base percentage and stuff. But like OPS, on base plus slugging, we know that that's like, a really, really great way to just quickly gauge the value of an offensive player. And he is in this like unfathomable stratosphere at the age of 25. Like he's incredible, and he's like having this influence, and people are like just having him around makes a big difference. So it's like really exciting, and I do wonder, because some of the pitchers have talked about, on the Yankees have talked about the Garrett Cole influence, right? So we know Cole is like 100% about pitching in baseball all the time. Like I remember somebody was talking about it, like Cole in the dugout, in the clubhouse, wherever, all the time. Cole just wants to be talking baseball and talking pitching. He just loves it so much. And how that like rubs off really well on the other pitchers. Like they're learning from him, and they're talking strategy and all of this stuff like all the time. And I'm wondering if that's going to happen for Soto. And so if we're going to see, like, we already assumed that somebody like Anthony Volpe was going to get better. We already assumed somebody like Jason Dominguez is going to get better after, he returns from surgery and everything. But I'm wondering if like being around somebody like Juan Soto is going to accelerate all of that. Like, are we going to see a huge jump forward this year from Volpe? And if so, like, how much does it have to do with Soto? We don't know unless Volpe comes out and says like, oh, I've been working with Soto a lot and he helps or whatever. But either way, I think his presence is like really valuable. He has like some swagger and some attitude. I love it. I'm very happy about Juan Soto.
I guess I really, really hope the Soto effect rubs off on Giancarlo Stanton.
True.
Fucking
Yeah.
hit the ball, Giancarlo.
That ship may have sailed, unfortunately. I've been G's like staunchest defender, and I'm still hoping that he can come back this year, but oh boy. It is not looking good. I'm having to fight my Jewish I have a generally Jewish point of view on life in the universe, and I'm fighting it really, really hard when it comes to Giancarlo Stanton, but I'm still holding out a tiny sliver of hope. But Matt, maybe you're right. Maybe Juan Soto will get in the cage with G and help him out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, G has 11 Ks and 21 plate appearances this season so far. So not looking good. But I did tell Toddy after your boy Soto threw out whoever at the plate in the bottom of the ninth on Thursday. It was the first game, right? Of the season. I told her, I was like, maybe they exercise some demons because that place is a fucking house of horrors for them in Houston. And then for them to sweep the fucking Astros and take 2 or 3 from the defending NL champions and heading home 6-1.
There's already
this is the best start.
New York's play trainer saying that he's made himself boo proof. Like Yankees fans better not boo him because he's already off to such a great start. Like,
I would be so furious if they booed him. Yeah, no, I mean, he's been amazing so far. Like there was that throw in the outfield, but then his hitting has been amazing. I mean, the other night, I think I texted you guys about it against Josh Hader, one of the greatest relief pitchers like ever, the best left-handed pitcher reliever in the game right now, probably for years now, against Soto, a lefty. And what inning was it? It was late in the game. Yeah, it was late. Yeah. The game was, I think the game was tied, and Soto worked him deep in a count, kept laying off good pitches, fouling off pitches that he couldn't quite get the barrel on, but that were like good pitches, but he was fouling them off, And then finally he gets one out on the outside edge, still a pretty good pitch, and he just drives a single to the opposite field to it was either to tie the game or take the lead, and it's like, holy fuck. Like, how many lefties in Major League Baseball can have that at bat against Josh Hader in that situation? I don't think very many. So it's not just about that throw, and it's not just about the walks and everything. Like, he's getting good hits, he's getting timely hits. I mean, it's been a great start. I'm just loving it.
All right, boys. Well, I think we did it.
I think that's a good bow to put on things for this week, and yeah. Do we want to? I know I had to cancel us last week, so we didn't get an episode in before the season actually started. Do we want to do next time a small sample size prediction thing? Because we didn't end up really doing much in the way of predictions. Not that we need to, but yeah, why not?
Whatever you guys
want. Whatever we want. Okay. So anyway, sorry, Colin. You were asking if we have any shout outs.
Pick a winner. No.
Yep. Any shout outs?
I'll shout out Mike Myers for creating one of the great characters of all time. So
love it.
Oh man, who do I want to shout out? I don't know here. Well, Colin, you go first.
I just have my regular sign.
Shit. Oh, come on now. Shout out Cousin Greg. That ring looked nice. Congratulations again.
Very nice.
Yeah, he's gonna be mad we didn't do his DraftKings thing. Maybe we'll do that.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot he sent a thing. Let's do that next time. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, boys. We are